Hey, world builders, welcome back to Shoutout Saturday, where I read your lore. If you want to hear your own writing read aloud here, come submit some for the daily prompt in the Discord and tag it for Shoutout Saturday, and it'll be read here. Now let's read some lore. I am going to be trying out having a camera for Shoutout Saturday. If you don't like that, let me know. We will do away with the camera. But it is easier for me to do now, and so I figured I'd put myself in the corner because maybe people want that. I don't know. We're just trying new things. So let me know if you don't want that. On to the lore. So for Shoutout Saturday number 14, we start with day 168. That day's prompt was, what is a lesser known role in a religion in your world? Frederick the Great writes, the Seven Saints. While every government official worth their salt knows about the Seven Saints, as does every citizen of Remexia, the actual job the Seven Saints perform in the religion is completely hidden from the wider public. The Seven Saints, named after the realm site they inhabit, e.g., the saint that lives in Fault is called the Saint of Fault, are very important people, obviously, that have complete command over all of Remexia. Each saint is responsible for command over 1/7 each of Remexian population. The number each saint controls is directly tied to one another, as is law decreed by the Saint of Dustdoom. If one saint sacrifices his control over thousands by sending them into a meat grinder, then the number he lost is to be regained by generous donations from the other six saints until their statistics are as close to even as possible between one another. As for the role they actually fill within the word Remexia, translated to recognize God, religion, is that of a guide to their subjects. They are here to guide all of humanity and others to the one truth of Ram, and unite all of turmoil against the forces of death. The seven saints do not bicker amongst each other, for Ram itself speaks to them, in order to unify them under a single glorious banner of righteous wrath. At least that's what the Exians say. In truth, the seven saints are panicking old men who are desperately trying to bring Rom back to them. Rom has, since Hensman's heresy, completely abandoned the mortal realm, instead hiding away in its realm in a depressive state. Rom has completely absconded from its followers, despite their devotion. The seven saints constantly bicker amongst one another, trying to bring Rom back to them. They yell at each other during meetings and interfere with one another if they have opposing ideas as to how Ram is to be recalled. These fights have resulted in the loss of thousands of lives. Some saints will go out of their way to reduce a rival saint's numbers just to introduce their own civilians as spies in the saints' ranks. Sabotage is a constant, food shipments being delayed and reinforcements arriving late. The seven saints are absolutely pathetic, bickering with one another even when the end of all life is nigh. There's something about this, Predwin, that is more dark than anything else. Maybe because it's too real? I don't know, but I do enjoy this a lot. I feel like I can tell that this is for sure inspired by real life. We've moved away from eldritch things and we've moved towards things that are close to home, but well done. Nugget writes for Day 168, Scholars and Scribes of the Old Religion. This is an entry in Time Traveler and the Immortal. There's a lot of gods and a lot of stories about them. Because of that, there's people across the world who simply dedicate their lives to studying the gods, memorizing their lore, writing it down, teaching others, and learning more. What they're called differs depending on what part of the world you're in, so I'll simply call them scribes. The work of a scribe is not easy, and is in fact a fool's errand that is doomed to fail. The gods are multifaceted, and different places see different parts of them and interpret them in vastly different ways. Some cultures lack certain information, some theorize incorrectly, but their word still becomes gospel, and with the vastness of the world before modern communication, it's impossible for any scribe to know everything without any contradictions. There's only two scribes that would come close. Mors, back when he was alive, was an Egyptian scribe. As one of the first gods created by Stella, she's been there to witness as it happens. But none of their records are within mortal possession or even shared with other gods. The other is Aurelius. As a god born among humans, it's no wonder his entire childhood was wrapped in religion. While other children played, he was memorizing every scripture in the Atlantean library and then some, even being directly tutored by Moors. By the time of the war, Aurelius had the most powerful weapon known to the gods knowledge. He knew everything about the gods, their powers, their strengths, their weaknesses, their flaws, their connections, everything. Because of this, Aurelius was the most dangerous god in the war, for he knew more about the gods than they knew about themselves. For day 169, the prompt was, what's a children's game commonly played in your world? Aris wrote Torchbearer. The Casrenan species, having grown up on the dunes of Vaxium, found odd ways to keep themselves entertained. One such way is a game often called Torchbearer. There would be two sides. One team guards two or more fire pits, while the other guards the torchbearer. As a side note, Casrena are giant, relatively 20-foot anthromoths. They can fly fairly fast due to how their wings are built. The torchbearer's goal is to light all of the braziers. The defenders are able to take out the torchbearer if they get them to drop the torch onto the ground. If the torch is in the air, anyone on the torchbearer's team can take the torch as long as it doesn't touch the ground. This game originally started as a way for the adults to get the children to light the braziers around their camp. Daytime on Vaxium is normally extremely hot, which is when the Kasrenin tribes tend to sleep. Nighttime on Vaxium is effectively the exact opposite, being extremely cold, so this odd game and tradition helps keep the children warm at night if the tribe isn't traveling. Oh, this is super interesting. This is a group I feel like I haven't heard about from you, Aris, yet, and I really like it a lot. Anthropomorphic moths are super cool. I know we have someone else, I believe Carhop in the Discord has something similar. Such a cool idea for a race and a species and a group. And this idea of them using torches and lighting torches is perfect. It's perfect moth stuff. It's great. It's light. It's awesome. Poe the Great writes, Spot the Heretic. The following message is from a propaganda poster typically found in Remexian schools. Have you ever completed a shift at school and wanted to do something religious and fun? Well, boy, do we have the game for you, kiddo. Introducing Catch the Heretic. Catch the Heretic is a fun, interactive puzzle game where you help Remexia in glorious conquest. Ask your designated Exian for the tools you'll need to start this absolutely perfect game of fun. The following message is from the Spot the Heretic Rules and Tips book presented to children by an Exian. So you've decided to undertake the fun, engaging challenge of Catch the Heretic. Good on you for choosing religious fun over rest and relaxation willingly. To start, you'll need three things: a couple sheets of grid paper, a pencil or pen, and a spyglass. Ask a trusted Exian for these awesome tools. Once you have these gadgets, ask your assigned Exian where you should go to best play this fun and inquisitive game. Once you arrive at your play area, ask the man or woman that will also be there where you can start looking for heretics to spot. Once directed, use your spyglass to scan the area, and using skills you've definitely learned from school, mark the heretic's position on your grid paper. Make sure to cover your ears when the man and or woman next to you says fire. If the heretic disappears in a cloud of smoke in your spyglass after the boom, congratulations, you've delivered righteous justice on those who would deny the will of Rom. Keep up the good work, champ. Oh man, this is just I don't have much to say, but this is pretty well written, Bredwin. That was a fun read. Nugget writes, Rainy Day Fun, an entry in Petrichor. Some brief descriptions of some popular children's activities in Petrichor, regardless of class. Tag, usually played outside with one player being it and chasing down the other player. Hide and seek, where the children hide around and a chosen player tries to find them. Marbles, played inside where players try and knock out as many of their opponent's marbles from a circle. Dreidel, usually played during the holidays where children will spin a four-sided dreidel, gambling chocolates based on the result. Journey, where children will fold boats out of waxed paper and send them down currents. Winner is whoever's boat went furthest without sinking. Blind Man's Bluff, similar to Tag, but the person who's it is blindfolded and spun around before trying to catch someone. Shadow Puppets. Played indoors, children will make various shapes using the shadows cast from a lamp or candle and come up with stories to go with it. Parkour, while certainly not the safest pastime, more reckless children often have a fun time taking advantage of the vertical nature of Petrichor's architecture to climb and jump off of. For day 170, the prompt was describe a character or entity who is much more powerful than they are perceived in your world. How so? Probably the Great writes, billions, billions underneath. The Khazarah of Kamar are numerous, numbering in the upper millions, perhaps even billions. The Khazarah are still, despite this fact, looked down on. The average man hears about how the Khazarah are not taxed by the Chaldathan government and about their almost invisible cooperation in the war front. After all, you always hear about dwarven weapons that support the war front. At least that gives the dwarves a right to lesser and sometimes non-existent taxation. And while the Khazarah are strong, despite these beliefs, a separate faction of them receives the same doubt and yet is far more dangerous. The Traitor Brood. The Traitor Brood was once part of the ancient Khazarah government, the greater empire of Her. After becoming separate during the Khazarah's migration to Kamar, the Traitor Brood vanished for thousands of years. The rest of Khazarah kinds assumed them to be dead. After the Orc War began and the forces of Murakane made their appearance, strange rumors began circulating amongst Chaldathan soldiers that Khazarah had been seen in no man's land dragging away the dead and dying. Screams, begging to be saved as the silhouettes of bugfolk rested against the fires of war in the distance. These rumors spread to Mazdun Nak, and the Brood Queen became curious beyond reason. It wasn't until 12 years ago that Khazarah forces were actively deployed on the warfront by the Brood Queen. The average soldier assumes that these insect infantry are just that, soldiers. The true purpose of these Khazarah is to identify any presence of the traitor brood. While the higher-ups of the Chaldathan government are aware of the possibility that the traitor brood might exist, to keep panic among civilians low and to fulfill the wishes of the brood queen, the alleged existence of the traitor brood is kept silent. If the traitor brood was real, and if it had a leader, the Khazarah point to the first Khazarah to ever lay eyes on her. Her is the name of the Khazarah goddess who's allegedly created their lineage, Oxskek. Now, we exist any kind of allegedness about the traitor brood. The traitor brood is real, it is dangerous, and its numbers far outreach those of any other faction combined. The traitorous brood was infected with the miasma, a brutal corruption on normal men, but with the artificial construction of the Khazara, they are far worse for wear than even the most grotesque of Murricanians. Their corruption keeps them fed and multiplying. They do not die, yet the miasma had not taken their ability to give birth. An undying legion of endless swarms of flesh-eating scarabs the size of a dog, feral and uncoordinated. Or are they? I think Khazara was, I think, correct spread when the great, and I think I did it right every time. I actually have to, like, not look at the full word when I say it, because otherwise my brain really wants to pronounce the G, but this is really fun. I like your bug people a lot. We're getting a lot of bug people today, actually. Moths and bugs and lots of cool insectoid things, which I just love, honestly. Nugget writes, weak, pathetic, fragile Victor Cogwin. And this is an entry in Time Traveler and the Immortal. Poor, poor Victor Cogwin. Looked down upon no matter the circle he's in. He's weak, he's frail, his parents expected him to die in infancy, and he just doesn't have the stomach for the family business. The one strength he has is his wit, but what is that worth when no one takes you seriously? When you are expelled from university, when half of your inventions either fail or get stolen, when your entire scientific view of the world is nothing more than comedy to the gods, and he only grew more pathetic around the gods, if he's already barely respected by his fellow humans, how do you think deities far above him see him? Nothing. They don't. They see him as entertaining at best. With that strange little invention and his aforementioned commitment to denying what's right in front of him, they see him as fragile, short-lived, a simple pet the disgraced runt of a god Aurelius keeps around as decoration for them to hunt for sport because of Aurelius's idiotic attachment. Perhaps this is why no one ever thought anything more of him. Unbeknownst to even Victor, he is the reincarnation of the primordial god Time. After all, his magic was something he was ashamed of, something that would get him killed if anyone found out. He hid his magic from the moment he realized it was there, pushing it so far down even he doesn't realize it's still alive. If he fully came into his power, he'd be one of the three most powerful entities in the entire cosmos. But that doesn't matter to him. He'll keep repressing it until he can't any longer, but even someone as stubborn as Victor is bound to crack at some point. For day 172, the prompt was, what is an example of a scientific investigation of a certain topic in your world? And this one came from Predwin the Great in the Discord and on TikTok. Predwin the Great wrote, weirds are weird. As one might recall, in a previous document, Built Together Day 162, mentioned during the scientific investigations of the stag monster group, they are in possession of something called a weird. This is the name Rheonian scientists have given to what one might call the soul of a stag. The name weird comes from ancient human myth from the time before the bleak shore ever made its appearance 1,000 or so years ago, but that too is a story for another day. Other monsters, too, have been seen to be in possession of a weird, but we're here to talk about weirds in relation to stags. The following messages are from the journal of Rheonian scientist Ivan Pros. Year 12 of Sovereignty, 12th of Akka. Log 1. I have been tasked by none other than the Lord Cross to investigate the nature of weirds. By my testing and that of my associates, by all accounts, a weird seems to be very similar to a mortal's soul, although still different in several ways. I need more time to specify any further. Year 12 of Sovereignty, 33rd of Akka. Log 2. Well, we're rounding up on the end of the quarter, and my team and I have some sizable results thus far. Weirds can only be detected within contained environments, as both their near transparency and white coloring make them rather impossible to perceive in the blizzards they manifest in. The environment we've concocted for our specimen utilizes the color black to ensure that the weird remains visible at all times. As for the containment procedures, when unwatched, all walls are to be heated via electricity to around room temperature, while air conditioning keeps the center of the room around the temperatures that weirds are most comfortable with. As for results, the specimen we've been testing has given us great headways into the knowledge of the nature of souls as a whole. My report will be finished tomorrow. Year 12 of Sovereignty, 34th of Akka. Log 3. Weirds are without a doubt a type of soul, which means that there are now, without a doubt, different types of souls. Whether or not there is a difference between that of different lineages, or just between mortals and monsters, I do not yet know. Either way, weirds are different in a way that they can sustain themselves in the mortal realm. In that sense, a weird is not all too dissimilar from an elemental spirit. Before, however, unlike an elemental spirit, they can freely move around in physical space. Also, unlike the souls of mortals or the spirits of elementals, a weird contains absolutely zero capacity for causing celestial corruption. If we can somehow find a way to bind a weird to a machine instead of an elemental spirit, the applications of such a thing could end wars. We could loose an unkillable machine against our foes that will not turn on us. The very thing keeping us from truly deploying automated troops en masse could be nullified. Year 15 of Sovereignty, 41st of Thurn. Log 147. After 3 years, I think I've done it. I believe with 100% confidence that we can bind a weird to a weird complex. I will begin to test at the earliest opportunity with Lord Cross's permission, of course. Year 20 of sovereignty, 12th of Akka. 8. 8 years I have served His Majesty Cross. I have assured him time and time again that the weird is ready for the test, that it is cooperating better than a dog at my every request. I could command it to roll over if it wasn't a floating orb. It is obedient to a T. If the Lord Cross won't see past the non-existent risk, then I will have to show him myself. My team, they refuse to see it through. They are too obedient to His Majesty. Fine, it's fine. I can do this without them. 2 days after this journal entry, the alarms at the research station were sounded. All personnel were found disemboweled, and large tracks led away from the site towards an active blizzard. The white has remained hidden to this day. This really reads like a SCP entry, actually, Predwin. You did a really good job with this one. I like the additional mystery of what happened. We all know things went poorly, but why? The final day for this Shoutout Saturday is day 173, and the prompt for that day was, what materials are typically found in building construction? And this comes from Nukes in the Discord. Probably the Great writes, in the world of turmoil, the tides of war ebb and flow like water. Pushes can be successful and buildings can be lost in minutes. On the other hand, without a bunker of your own, you can't hold ground that you take. On the beach of bodies, there are no trees to harvest for rudimentary structures, nor easy access to stone for on-site concrete making. All resources must be imported from outside the warfront. Of course, soldiers in wars, even in real life, obviously must rely on outside assistance for resources, but everything on the beach is imported. Campfire wood, drinkable water, and of course, building materials. Concrete is heavy, even when separated between wet and dry ingredients. Steel rebar even more so, and such the convoys that can make it carry very few resources. Steam crawlers are the only things capable of traversing the sands of the beach, and with leg-based movement, their joints can only handle so much weight. Caldetha needed a lightweight, durable material capable of being deployed quickly and readily. Enter Gideon Rotbrand. Gideon's first ever invention was a composite material named Quick. Very clever. Quick is made entirely of concrete, but it's magic concrete. Truly innovative, Quick is light, weighing about 5 pounds per cubic meter, and as its name suggests, it hardens very quickly. By utilizing rune magic, a soldier can instantly dry up to 30 cubic meters of Quick, whereas concrete takes 20 to 30 days to reach full strength. As with the auto-stitch runes, Quick runes are also mass-produced by burning the rune's design into a sheet of wood. These runes, unlike those of the auto-stitch, the Sholem, Lagas, Proctor, Erevis, Arcane Circle, can be small enough to carry around. While the auto-stitch needs to be as big as the person it is healing, 5 to 20 feet, lineage depending, the Quick rune can be as small as the palm of someone's hand. Quick was an immense help on the warfront all the way until the forces of death breached the bulkhead. Magic concrete. Nice. This is a fun. This is maybe the most interesting one we got for this prompt. To be fair, a lot of building materials are not that interesting. Mine were basically just the specific special types of trees in Atovia, and that was about it. If you want to see your own work here, then come to the Discord and submit something for the daily prompt and just tag it with the Shoutout Saturday tag in the forum, and it will be posted here, and I will read it. Otherwise, thank you, as always, to all of our wonderful submitters, as well as to you, the viewer. Like and subscribe if you're interested in that kind of thing and you want to see more of this stuff. Have a wonderful Saturday.